Okay, my name is Finch, and I'm going to be teaching you how to make bread dough. Now, this is a pretty simple recipe. The first thing you're going to want to do is you want to get a cup and a quarter of water. So, when you're measuring, you want to make sure you hold the cup at eye level and see exactly where the water level is. And pour a cup and a little bit too much there. A cup and a quarter into the bowl that you're using, and then you're going to want to put in your yeast. And I'm doing this ahead of time because you want to let this sit for a little bit before you put the other ingredients in to let the yeast have time to get started working. And you're just going to use 1 packet of dry yeast. And this recipe it's a bread dough. It's a very basic bread dough. You can use it for anything. I use it for pizza sometimes. If you just want a loaf of bread with dinner, you can make grilled flat bread with it. It's a very simple all-around dough. Okay, so now that you've got the yeast going, you're going to want to put the yeast in, you want to get a spoon, make sure you keep that stirred up a little bit. Now, the next thing you're going to do is add in the flour. And this recipe calls for 3 cups of flour. So, I'm just using regular all-purpose flour you can get at the grocery store. It's really simple. Now, when you're measuring, you want to make sure you do use relatively precise amounts. You don't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be exact, but you do want to get it close. If you put too much, one ingredient or another in, it will be disgusting. And a trick I like to use when I'm measuring, I use a knife with any kind of flour or sugar or anything like that, and you can get it so that it's right at level with the top of the measuring cup. And I've noticed I'm doing this over the sink. It gets really messy sometimes, but a little bit of flour wasted, it's okay. It's really cheap. And so there's 1 cup. This is 2 cups. Another thing I want to emphasize while doing this is you want to make sure everything's clean. I already had the bowls and measuring cups and everything washed them beforehand, and you want to also make sure that you have counter space clean because you're going to need that to knead the dough a little bit later. Okay, and so here is 3 cups of flour. So you've got your water and your flour now. You want to get that kind of stirred together. And that's the main part of the bread dough. The yeast actually that we added a minute ago is what's going to make the bread rise. And then you want to add a little bit of salt, a teaspoon of salt in, and this is just for flavoring. So we're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt, just regular table salt, nothing special about it. You want to make sure everything gets good and mixed together. If it's a little bit too runny, it's okay. We can add a little more flour later. Next thing you want to do after that is you add a tablespoon of sugar. This is just cane sugar, whatever kind of sugar you want to use. Really, it's not going to make a huge difference. And 1 tablespoon of sugar, and then 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. And you're going to want to make sure you get extra virgin olive oil because otherwise regular cooking oil it's processed, it won't work out as well. It'll just give you kind of a metallic-y flavor overall. So extra virgin olive oil, it's worth it to pay a little bit extra for the good stuff. Just going to put 2 tablespoons straight into the bowl. And then that's all we need with our measuring cups, so we can put those away. Mix all of this together. And then we have this really gross, doughy looking mixture. That doesn't look appetizing at all. But what you're going to want to do is after after you get this mixed together is you're going to knead your dough. So take a little bit of flour. Make sure you wash your hands, so you don't want to be contaminating your recipe. Take a little bit of flour and put it down on your countertop, which you've already cleaned. Then you're going to take your whole wad of dough. This can get really gross. Take your whole wad of dough, and just flop it down on the flour. And try and get it covered in flour. If you need to get more out of the bag, that's fine. My dough's a little bit sloppy, so I'm going to add a bunch more flour actually. Just shake it down, sprinkle it down. So now we've got this ball of dough. And now what we're doing, it's called kneading the dough. You're basically folding it in half, pushing it down, folding it in half, pushing it down again. And you just keep doing this until you've got this nice, solid little ball of dough. And if it starts sticking to the table or starts sticking to the counter, you can just add a little bit more flour. I think I've actually got this pretty good. I want it to be a little bit tacky, but not, you know, sticking everywhere. See, that's not good. That's sticking too much, so get a little bit more flour. Just put it down. And then, you know, now we have dough. You can't really make bread with this though. So what you're going to want to do is get out a large. What you're going to want to do first is wash your hands. Again, because there's no way you can go through that and not be covered in bread dough. Wash your hands, get all the dough off, dry them off. And then what you're going to want to do is take out a nice, large, clean glass bowl. Just like this one here. And make sure your bowl is significantly bigger than the amount of bread dough that you have, because we're going to let the bread dough rise now. I actually need to add a little bit more flour to this. Got a ball of dough, it's not sticking to anything. Put a little oil in the bowl. A little splash of olive oil, you don't really have to measure that out. Put the dough in the bowl. Roll it around so that you can get it good and covered in olive oil. And then what you're going to want to do is just take out a clean towel, washcloth will work, anything, and cover the bowl. So you've got this covered bowl, and you're just going to put this in a warm place. I usually set it on top of the stove. Not on a burner, you don't want to cook the dough, but just sit it in a warm place, let it sit for about 2 hours, and you'll have basically perfect bread dough. You can use it to make anything that you want. And that's how you make bread dough.